Kia ora, welcome back, the lovers. Okay, so to kind of in the last episode we talked about the wider kind of analogy of reptilians that kind of occur. They occur in a kind of a few other science fiction things, so like the old Doctor Who, the Silurians and things like that. Although they're not quite as cold and detached in Doctor Who, but this thing about reptilians coexisting with humans and trying to take over or having inveigled themselves into kind of positions of power, and how that's a kind of analogy for psychopathy. We talked about a few other things. Just on the subject of kind of analogy, from the brief research that I did, a few people said that this series was supposed to be analogous to Barack Obama's presidency, and that the healthcare was a kind of nod in the direction of the Obamacare. So, which is kind of interesting. I don't know whether that's true or not. Kind of hope not, because I can't see why people had such a problem with a very dignified president who wanted to make healthcare more available to people. I can't really see why anyone would object to that, but maybe I'm naive. We won't stray too far into politics, apart from where V has political aspects. And that's another thing I like about V, that it's very it's a kind of it's about a kind of war against aliens, but it's not just a kind of Independence Day shoot 'em up. It's it's very much about political, the political, and the kind of the military kind of, or combat aspects of it are very much kind of embedded in the politics, which I do like. I think that's done really well. So more on the characters really. Chad Decker, brilliant, very kind of believable. I always want to call him Chubby Checker. And Jack the Priest, who looks like Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden. Did anyone else think that, or was that just me? And the IT guy, not such a strong character. I don't think they develop the character so much. He kind of delivers a few kind of trendy one-liners, and I'm not sure that really comes off or fits with the rest of the vibe really. So I'm just going to look at my notes because I've made some bullet points of things to talk about. So let's talk about a few things that confused me, that I think are maybe plot errors or things that weren't really thought through that well. One is there's a reference. I think Ryan makes a reference to, if you go on the V ship, you won't be able to understand their language. Now, all the time we see Anna and Marcus talking in English. Now, obviously, these things are a kind of trope, because you need to be able to understand what characters are saying, even if they're speaking in a different language, and you don't want them saying and doing subtitles, because that's kind of a bit clunky. I would, if I was producing this program, this series, I would have made the V's. I would have, because they're supposed to be very intelligent. I would have said that they all have to be cloaked in skin, and they all have to have human names, and also speak in a human language, and be versed in English and regional, whichever country they're in. So there's ships above China, for example, and they would all speak Chinese, but they would speak English, so they have a common language that they can all speak together. I would make that, I would kind of say that's so embedded in their culture, because they've been around Earth so long, incognito, that they, and I think that would have made it even more kind of sinister, really. So I wouldn't have put that clunky thing about language in there. I think that was awkward. The other thing I didn't understand is Diana's jail. So what is that? Where is she in the ship? Why has the ship got a kind of dungeony, kind of gothic kind of area? It kind of looks a bit like And it looks like there's kind of crystalline structures all and doorways and, you know, kind of arched door. I think, is there an arched doorway there and stuff like that? And it's kind of seems to be dripping with water. So it's like, why has this sophisticated ship got the, you know, a castle, a medieval castle dungeon in it with kind of strange crystalline things, and, you know, what's that about? And why, how is Diana able to look, you know, completely scrubbed up in, you know, in a elegant dress and fully made up when she's, you know, when she's been living in this kind of, you know, sort of seemingly rat infested kind of you know, bilge pit. So that was kind of odd. I think that could have done with a word of explanation. Another scene where it didn't kind of make much sense to me is where I think it's Marcus blackmails Kyle to let off the bomb that blows up the sort of first incarnation of the fifth dimension, the fifth column, because all he did, you know, was get reasonably near to the location and press a button. So why do you have to get, you know, the most experienced and top notch mercenary stroke assassin stroke, you know, whatever he is, to do that? Because all he did was press a button. You know, you could have got an EV to do that because it was a very anonymous thing to do. So I think that fitted in with some of the plot lines, but that was an error, I think, on my part. I got very confused about breeding as well. Not in real life. That can be confusing. Why was Anna, and why did Diana say that Anna was why did she say that she was infertile when, you know, in a few episodes back she'd given birth to, you know, hundreds or thousands of soldiers? Was there something I missed there? Maybe there's something I missed, but, you know, did she say or something at that point that, oh, this is my last opportunity to lay eggs? Or was it that she wasn't able to lay another queen egg? Maybe that was it. Maybe she wasn't able to lay another queen egg. So a bit confusing around that. I thought it's interesting that it kind of, you got Anna and Diana. I hadn't really thought of that until now, until this moment. So, you know, Diana wants to kill Anna. So Diana. Although of course Diana was in the original series, so I guess that may not be a conscious or deliberate thing. Yeah, well, the tail, I kind of, I liked a lot of the effects. I like the fact that we don't actually see a full kind of naked, as it were, lizard form until quite close to the end. You know, I like that kind of teasing thing. It's better to, you know, in some ways hint at things and suggest things. And I like the new kind of Queen alien, Queen V, but I kind of, when Anna appears and kills Diana, her tail is way too long, and I'm sure, you know, it just doesn't look convincing that with that very thin prehensile tail she can actually lift Diana up in the air. I don't think, you know, actually the engineering and the science of that is just kind of, I think that's actually impossible, isn't it? I don't think that can be done. So I think they should have, I think I went over the top with that. A shorter tail, stab her through the heart, but not actually lift her off the ground. And no, that was a bit crazy, wasn't it? Yeah, didn't like that. Okay, referring to my Jack's Father Jack. So it's kind of set up that, or is it that the older priest that shares a parish with Father Jack is kind of senior to him? It kind of appears that he is. So maybe they should have called him Curate Jack. And the senior priest says, well, you know, if you carry on kind of preaching against V, you're not going to be welcome in my church. But he's still there, you know, he remains. So that's something that I don't understand. So maybe just another little kind of blip in the plotting there. So what else have we got here? I mean, we could talk about this series forever, really. Naughty bits. One of the things I've made my note. I kind of. So obviously they wanted to attract a younger audience as well as an older audience. So So there's kind of lots of areas where people kind of get naked, but they're kind of strategically, their naughty bits are strategically covered up. So for example, when people are kind of strapped down, they've got kind of, there's a big metal kind of strapping that kind of covers the genital area and the breast area. And also there's a scene where they're, excuse me, I think they're skinning, is it Georgie? And he's got kind of like a modesty kind of drape around his lower half. You know, whereas if you're skinning somebody, you know, you're torturing somebody to death, you're not going to be too, you know, courteous about preserving their modesty. And of course, you get all these sort of bra scenes, you know, where Lisa's having sex with a bra. It always makes me laugh when you have scenes of people doing sex and they keep their bras on. It's kind of so I think they could have done that better. I think, and actually, you know, there's a lot of sex in it. So you know, I think it should have been one thing or the other. Really, I think they should have either toned the sex down and made it, you know, much more family friendly, or they should have. Three ways they could have done this better. I think is that they could have used. The angle of shot to preserve kind of modesty, so we don't see naughty bits, or they could have cut out the sexual bits pretty much altogether, or they could have gone for a more adult audience and been all out with the sexy bits, and therefore could have been all out with the horror bits as well, which I think, you know, might have made it better. Actually, I think, you know, that's probably where I probably would have gone for something in between. Camera shots for the modesty, but I probably would have gone more adult on the horror. I think I would have made it more, because there were some scenes though. There's a dream scene where Tyler's face kind of melts, and that's kind of pretty horrific. So I think I would have gone more for the adult side, but I probably would have, kept it modest in terms of naughty bits, but done that with camera angles and done that a little bit more subtly. So I think that's the main points from V. So just to sum up, so allegory of psychopathy and a kind of exploration of ethics is in there. Love the love the actors, love the casting. Wanted to see more from Marcus because he was such an interesting kind of dry character. You was just fascinated with what he was thinking, what he was feeling, where he was coming from. And I think possibly Marcus would have been developed a lot further in the third series had they made it. Loved Anna, loved pretty much everything really. Loved the shuttles, you know. I think they're kind of reminiscent of what I remember from the previous series. I loved the way they moved, and you know, that was a really nice touch. What else? So various little kind of annoying little kind of plot lines. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. I got the flavour that there was going to be kind of a bit of a love conflict, because of course, you know, Jack has been I never come across the term laicized before. Defrocked is the phrase that I would have used, but maybe I'm old-fashioned or wrong in that. So Jack is no longer a priest. He hasn't lost his faith, but he's no longer a priest. So it kind of felt like he was kind of starting to develop fondness for Erica. So I think that was something that was a direction I think they would have been going in the third series, because her sleeping with Kyle, you know, it doesn't really add anything to the story. So again, I think that would be something that they were planning to develop further. What else? Tyler was quite annoying, but then, and I just kept thinking, why doesn't Erica just tell him? Why did Erica's boss and new partner have her investigated by the FBI, when actually what they were wanting to do is to find out if she had fifth column leaning so they could recruit her? So why would they get the FBI to do that investigation? That seems a bit counterproductive and against what they were trying to do. So if you can answer any of these questions or add anything to the conversation, but remember, you know, be nice, because these things are supposed to be fun. You know, I hate it when you get these fora and people discuss, you know, stuff like films or music, and then they kind of fall out and end up getting kind of nasty with each other. It's supposed to be fun, okay? So, you know, if we're going to have a conversation about this, it needs to be fun. It needs to be respectful. You know, I don't mind being corrected on things I've got wrong. You know, I've probably got most of it wrong. So let's have a conversation about this, and I'm going to probably end the video there, but my feeling is that I'll probably put this down and think, hang on a minute, I didn't talk about this, didn't talk about that, didn't talk about the other. So look out for a possible part 3. It's a bit like V, isn't it? It kind of is supposed to have a part, maybe a part 3. We're looking for a part 3, but it finishes on a part 2. So I hope you found that interesting, and yeah, give me lots of nice comments. Rangi Marie.